Vigorous ones, have you seen the Kelly Osbourne of it all? Ooh, have you seen the Kelly Osbourne of it all, baby? We have questions, comments, and concerns, but not about Kelly, because my concern is we're talking about her body too much.
We're kind of going against this idea that we shouldn't be living life. Like, we should be living life vigorously.
We're doing too much. We're talking about it too much. And I just want to have a conversation about that today. Conversation boils down to this. At what point does concern stop being compassion and start being entitlement? Welcome to another edition of Vigorously. I'm Val Kleinhans, and we're going to dive into that today. I'm not going to shock you by saying this. In my very biased opinion, we need to talk about all the commentary surrounding Kelly Osbourne and her weight. This shouldn't be a surprise to you listening. I'm sure you've seen it too. Recently, people online have been commenting on how thin Kelly looks. And the internet reaction has been intense. Too intense, in my opinion. Speculation about drugs, eating disorders, surgery, illness, blah, 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 blah. Thousands of comments are popping up saying we're concerned. But when you actually read them, a lot of them end up feeling like body shaming or a moral judgment. To which I say, sir, ma'am, it's insane. I said I'm biased. Yeah, it's not a secret that I'm an Osbourne fan, but just so you know the direction that I'm going to go with this. Of course, I'm going to honor that, but I hope you hear there's a universal message that applies in this episode. And that message is this. There is a difference between genuine concern and publicly dissecting anyone's body for humiliation and entertainment. Today, we're going to get into it on all that. And we have to start, I think, with the double standard. I'm a woman, so I can and will speak on this subject, but not without acknowledging that men endure their own version of this bullshit too. So I'm not going to share anything that you don't already know. Bodies for decades have been treated like public property, celebrity or not. Somebody gains weight, it's headlines, it's gossip. Somebody loses weight, it's headlines, it's gossip, it's accusation, speculation, panic. There is no correct way to exist in a body, publicly or privately. And I mean that subjectively. If you're not a medical expert that cannot, with data, confirm or deny what's actually going on, I really don't think you should have an opinion on what the correct thing to be doing with your body is. Because we're going off looks. We're going off something subjective, right? We're going off of what may or may not be aesthetically pleasing. And I don't even think another medical expert should look at somebody else that they're not actively treating and go, this is what I think is going on. Well, no, maybe you don't know. You don't know. Putting a label on whether or not someone is healthy, I think that's subject to how your body runs. And you'll know because your body will tell you if you're treating it well or not. Or your doctor will confirm things with, like lab work, stuff like that, and say, we need a new plan if something isn't right. Specifically, celebrities or any public figure for that matter, I don't know that they ever get the chance to leave that loop of conversation because they're always in the public eye. And I'm talking about the comments that go like this. Weight gain, they let themselves go. Weight loss, too thin, unhealthy, on drugs, blah, 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 whatever. And my point is this. That type of commentary says a lot more about society's obsession with control than about the person being discussed themselves. I don't hear genuine concern for their well-being either. I don't. Case in point, everything happening with Kelly Osbourne right now. I have eyes, I can see that she has lost weight, and that is obvious. And I'm not debating or denying that this is fact. However, I am saying that just because you see something doesn't mean you're always qualified or have to say something. It's called discernment. Just like, I hope, we apply with everything else. You got to stop yourself and just ask. And some people do not do this. Is this the right time to be saying what's about to come out my mouth? Is there value in me saying this? Is this going to help this person? Now, Kelly didn't have to, but in case you missed it, she did offer an explanation, her own words, on what's going on to try and shut down the noise. That's an important part. That's an important point we'll get into. Kelly has gone on record saying that her grief in response to her father's passing has been especially hard on her, and that is a part of why we're seeing what we're seeing. Sharon, her mother, has confirmed this, and this is the information they have offered up to this point. So this is what we have to go on. This is what we have to respect. We have to understand that, look, if this is what they're saying, then let them say it. Keep your own thoughts to yourself. I think is what I'm getting at with this. I mean, her mother wouldn't confirm it, I don't think, if she also didn't know this. And I would imagine her own mother is a pretty reliable source. I want to talk about this part of it too. Kelly is obviously aware of how she looks. She's obviously aware of what's happening. So that fact negates, in my opinion, anyone's reasoning that they are commenting out of concern for her, because Kelly is aware. You're not helping her at this point by telling her anything about herself, because she is already aware of how she appears. She is already aware of the fact that she is struggling in her body right now, in her mind, in her emotions, all of the above. We are not saying anything new here. And this is what's worse. Kelly has begged for the comments to stop. She's not happy about them. Yet they continue. I've read them. They are nasty. They span everything from calling her Skeletor to just wild accusations that are still happening despite her plea. Despite her explanation that she offered, which she did not have to offer in the first place. Wow. In her case, her body has always been up for discussion since she was a teenager, and I cannot imagine how tough of a mental toll that is on a person. Oh, wait, I can. I'm a woman. The big difference, though, is she's got to go through that publicly. I had to endure it privately. Adding the public layer is a whole other animal. So my point is this. Why is her body even up for discussion? Are we simply commenting just because we think we can? For some people, I think it's that simple. And some, I think, are doing it because they think there's no victim involved, but there is. These people have eyes and ears too. They still see and hear what you're saying. You know, ironically, we give other humans a pass or mince our words around anybody that we respect. And yet, this behavior kind of suggests that celebrities are fair game and we don't respect them the same way we would a different human. I'm thinking so. I'm thinking that's what that suggests. And that ain't right. In Kelly's case, we have watched her grown up and have a family of her own. And because of this, for better or worse, the public has a connection to her. Some take it so far as to feel like they're owed access to that information. So it's unfortunate that it gets warped that way. There's another way that I think this gets warped too. Sometimes I wonder if, because at this point she has been vocal about her displeasure in seeing these hateful comments, I wonder if at this point people are just being mean because they know it bothers her. Because there are some sick people out there who that's all they need. It sure seems like these commenters are seeking a reaction and dehumanizing her. And if the concern was real, you would honor her wish to stop commenting at all. Side note, if you want a reaction from someone, particularly someone famous, because that's your goal, if it is your goal, and you want them to acknowledge you, you can still do this by being positive too. So I don't understand why we don't go that route. Like there really is no harm in leading with kindness either. It worked with Kelly. I can speak from personal experience. I got her attention by complimenting her outfits, particularly the leopard trapper hat that we have seen her rocking this fall and winter. It's, I got that by complimenting her and making a funny Mean Girl video. Using a Mean Girl quote with it by saying, because Kelly's wearing it, I'm wearing it. That's what it was. I didn't body shame her. I didn't get her attention by body shaming her. I got her attention by complimenting her, to which she said, "You look great," in response. So try that before you're out here being rude, acting a fool, just to get attention. Fame might put someone in the public eye, but that doesn't mean they are up for becoming public property. You're still a human. And last I checked, we still voted against slavery. Nobody owes anybody anything. So let's take it down a few notches. Let's examine concern disguised as a socially acceptable form of criticism too, because we're doing it quite a bit now. I don't think it's a new concept, but it definitely exists, and we can see it in print online. Online culture has created a loophole. You can say something cruel as long as you frame it as concern. The magic word, right? Here's some examples if you don't know what I mean. I'm just worried about her. Someone needs to check on her. This isn't healthy. What's really happening is speculation about medical issues, policing somebody's body, public diagnosis that is not verified by an expert or factual data. Ideally, we shouldn't have access to that, by the way, but factual data. Your doctor should be the only one that has access to that information, in my opinion. Not the public. This is what's really happening. Real concern usually looks like a private conversation, usually looks like compassion and respect, which includes respecting if someone says, "I don't want to talk about it." And real concern also looks like boundaries too. I'm going to throw that one out there. It does not mean thousands of strangers diagnosing someone in the comments or gossiping about them around town if it's a private situation. I'm going to cite this as a great example of this being done really well. I know I was not the only one of the girlies binging Mormon Wives over the weekend. The new season 4, is out. And I especially appreciated a particular scene in what I'm pretty sure was the finale. There's a scene where Jesse, Miranda, and Layla go to the spa together. And keep this in mind, Layla initiates the conversation. Layla starts the conversation. She opens up and gets vulnerable about her struggles with her body and an eating disorder. And Jesse just checks in and says, "Hey, I see that, okay, you're aware of what's happening and you're aware of the fact that it ain't good. I appreciate that." She's given her props for that. And then Miranda backs her up. Miranda was the MVP of the whole season, by the way. I've got my reasons for that. But Miranda echoes that in a way and says, look, at the very least, we're here for you. We're here to support you. Period. I get both girls understand where Layla's coming from. They've all struggled with their body. This isn't a unique experience. It was nice to see that type of conversation, a sensitive conversation, handled well. And I think that there's some key takeaways from that conversation if you're looking at learning how to do it. Okay. One, Layla led the conversation. That's important. You don't necessarily want to bring it up, I don't think, if somebody isn't ready. You don't know where their head's at. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up unless they do. Jesse was also smart to say, are you aware that what's going on isn't okay? Or what's like, you're aware that you can be taking better care of yourself. I think that's an okay way to frame it. And again, she only said this after Layla did express her own concerns. And MVP Miranda is basically just out here saying, look, we're here. And consistency was shown. This is another key component into having a successful, sensitive conversation. Those two escort Layla and help Layla to what looked like to me a treatment center to begin at least some form of treatment after Layla expressed, her own struggles. They back her up. Like they said they would support her, and they backed it up. They came and showed up. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. So if you're trying to have a sensitive conversation, try and be patient enough for that person to take the lead. If you're genuinely concerned about somebody, be patient enough to let them take the lead on the conversation and come from a place of, I'm just here to listen. Come from a place of, all I want is to know that you're aware and that you're okay. All those girls did a fabulous job. All of those girls did a fabulous job. And that would not have happened if Jesse and Miranda didn't give Layla a safe space to open up to begin with. So shout out to Secret Lives and Mormon Wives for showing that moment and showing how you can have a conversation like that and do it in what I would say is an overall respectful way. So many of us don't do it. It's almost like so many of us are just, I don't know if we ignore it. I don't know if we're ignorant to it or numb to it. But it sure seems to me like even in the year of our Lord 2026, we are still struggling with the discernment that I was talking about earlier, and, being mindful of a time and a place to discuss these things, to have these full-blown conversations, to have these very sensitive conversations. It used to feel like, and I'm actually going to give some credit to what's happening now, because when I was growing up, it was not unheard of to see people talking crazy about Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan and how thin they were and, how out of control they were, blah, 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 whatever. That seemed normal. It was normalized. And I understand that it was happening before. It still happened. It's still happening since. But what I will give credit to is it seems like today's society is sort of checking these types of comments now. We're at least checking it, clocking it, saying, maybe side-eyeing it a little bit. Like, are these comments, I don't know if that was the best thing, or maybe I shouldn't say that. I might feel it. I might have learned that it was okay to say it, and I might have an impulse to say it. But it seems like now we're doing not a perfect job, but a better job at trying to be mindful of the whole time and place thing. You know, trying to be better about not just ruining someone. And, you know, however, there are still plenty of clowns out here that are doing what we've done for decades too, and that's not okay. So, which is why I think the conversation about these types of comments being too much and doing too much matters. And I'm going to include private people in this conversation too, because I do want there to be an understanding, public figure or not, we are humans at the end of the day. And I fear that the celebrity discourse I'm talking about does shape how we treat regular people, people we see in our daily life. Because the same comments appear in daily life. You're too skinny, she's too thin, or whatever. You know, you look sick, are you eating, blah, 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 blah. Even if that is meant as concern, these comments can, and I do think, like I said, we're starting to understand this now. At least anybody with a heart is starting to understand this now. Those types of comments can reinforce an insecurity. They can trigger an eating disorder or a struggle with one. And they can create shame around bodies. There's better ways to show concern. There's better ways to do this if you feel called to. If you're truly concerned about one, take a few notes from that scene in season 4 of Secret Wives and Mormon Wives that I'm talking about. Obviously, they had their conversation in public, but preferably have yours in private. Don't speculate publicly or gossip. And here's the thing, focus on the person, not about their body. Jesse and Miranda did a good job about this in that conversation with Layla. Again, they let Layla take the lead. And as the conversation furthered, you can see that the language Jesse and Miranda is using is Layla-centered, not Layla's body-centered. Hey, man, I don't want you to go through that. I don't want you to struggle this way. You know, what can we do? I'm here. That's what I got from Jesse and Miranda's side in this. And that's why I think it was a conversation that was done really, really well. And I'm glad it's on camera, especially for anybody younger to see this, and that hopefully we get better as a society of navigating hard topics like this. In conclusion, because I think we've said what we could say about this, real concern doesn't escalate when somebody says they're hurting. If you're somebody with a heart, if you're somebody that is empathetic, you would understand that there needs to be a pause in those moments. Real concern backs off. And being famous doesn't erase your humanity. Let me throw that one in there. Concern without compassion in any instance is just criticism in a nicer outfit. And baby, it is not always a good look. It don't always mean it's a good look, that's for sure. So if we want a culture that respects boundaries, respects boundaries and bodies, we have got to stop treating them like they're up for public discussion. Let's just let it go. Let's get to a place where at the very least we can be neutral. I'd like to see that someday. I think we're slowly working on it. But I have hope. And I hope you do too. And I hope that you will use some discernment this week before making a statement about somebody's body. That we at least pause and check ourselves before we say something that we don't really want to. Because, man, I look at what Kelly has been through, and arguably her mother Sharon has been through a lot of the same thing too. People are ripping apart these women anytime they see them at any type of event. And There's just something really dehumanizing about it. I wouldn't want it to be me. And I think that's why I'm passionate about this subject. And hopefully that's where your head's at too, and we can change things for the better. Thank you so much for joining me this week as I yapped. We'll have some more yap sessions. Stay tuned. I cannot wait for you to hear Monday's guest. Whew. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to social media. I cannot wait for you to hear this. A lot more to come on Vigorously. You stay right here. Bye.